Well, the Knox County Sheriff's Office issued a correction to the name and age of the victim in an officer-involved shooting. Authorities say 23-year-old Sierra McCauley had a large knife when she was shot and killed by a Knoxville police officer. This all played out on Haywood Avenue in South Knoxville. Now, we received many questions on our Facebook page about this story.
10 News anchor Sean Franklin looks to answer those in a 10 Listen segment tonight. Sean.
Rob and John, one question clearly stood out to me about the use of deadly force. I went to UT's Law Enforcement Innovation Center to find out more about how officers learn when to use it and when not to. The post about Monday's officer-involved shooting reached more than 53,000 people on our Facebook page. Many, like Logan McCullough, asking, why could the officer not use a taser? Jeff Lindsay, the program manager at UT's Law Enforcement Innovation Center in Oak Ridge, says every agency's goal is to have their officers be confident and competent in their training.
And tasers are designed to give officers the option, when appropriate, and when that officer believes that it's practical, to use an intermediate weapon or intermediate use of force.
KPD says 23-year veteran officer James Gadd fired, quote, in defense of his life. Another question from our Facebook post. Dante Booth asked, what is a military-style knife? KPD says that's what McCauley had in her hand when Officer Gadd shot her. A spokesperson for KPD explained that it was a fixed-blade weapon like the K-bar, which was designed for use by U.S. troops during World War II.
It doesn't matter whether it's a butter knife. It doesn't matter whether it's a machete. It doesn't matter whether it's a stick. It doesn't matter whether it's a rock. At that particular moment in time that officer feels that the threat is imminent to someone else or themselves. That's normally what the training focuses on.
Holly King encouraged everyone to put themselves in an officer's shoes when someone pulls a weapon on you. Lindsay says because it's such a pressure-filled situation, shooting someone to wound them is hard to do.
That type of precision doesn't go completely out of the window. I mean, they need to use fundamentals of marksmanship. But again, it's very difficult to get those precise shots.
Lindsay says he himself has been involved in a deadly force situation. He says when they happen, such moments need to be scrutinized by the media and others, but it needs to be done fairly. Robin, John?
Sean Franklin answering some of your questions. And if you have more or other story ideas, please email us at 10listens@wbir.com. You can also call the number on your screen.
Turning our attention once again to